And lefty lunacy, there's lots going on. Extinction Rebellion, that mob who are determined to convince us that the end of the world is coming. No, not because of the virus, but because of climate change. They have decided they haven't been effective enough. So all that dressing up in red and gluing themselves to the road, nah, that's all the mild stuff, Rita. They've decided a paper that that the Global Warming Policy Foundation got their hands on. I presume it's true, but maybe it's not. But maybe Extinction Rebellion can tell us. But according to this paper, they claim that at the Glasgow Summit, COP26, later in the year in Glasgow, obviously, that they intend to ramp up extreme activities, and they might include, they suggested, possibly a hunger strike, which follows through to its natural conclusion, or even a suicide. So this is apparently what the lunatics in Extinction Rebellion are talking about as ways of expressing their the horror of what is happening to the world because of climate change.
They've had to cancel. I know James and I were absolutely shattered on Friday because we were going to have some entertainment when they were going to just launch into News Corp offices throughout Sydney and Melbourne, but they called it off at the last minute. I think they cited coronavirus as the reason. So they are just mad. And it seems incredible that not only do they just get this almost uncritical coverage in some of the media, but where are all those fact-checking units? The one the ABC, actually, the one we pay for through the ABC. Why didn't they go through what some of their leaders claim and actually fact-check them?
Well, you know, as I've always said, you know, I have gone out, I have interviewed Extinction Rebellion. These people are in two categories. They are, number one, hard-left socialist Marxists who see the environmental issue as a way to overthrow capitalism, and a bunch of upper-middle-class useful idiots who go along with it for the ride because it feels good. And it is really, really interesting to me, guys, to see their reaction to coronavirus, because suddenly now we actually do have a real threat on our hands, a real threat that could cause a lot of death and a lot of misery, and they are all running scared.
And that comparison is now being made. I've seen it in the ABC and elsewhere, where they're comparing our reaction to coronavirus with climate change and saying that it's the same, you know, it's
the Guardian is saying, why can't we react to climate change the same way we react to coronavirus? We've got others saying that coronavirus is caused by climate change. You never know. So complete lunacy. At least, to her credit, Greta Thunberg came out and advised her 4 million followers on Twitter to actually stay at home and do their protesting online. Good. Well done, Greta.
But you know what? The thing is, you know, the thing that coronavirus and climate change and CO2 emissions have in common, both of them, you're not allowed to say that the vast majority comes out of China because, you know, CO2 emissions and Wuhan, and now we don't want to talk about either one of those. I just want to talk, can we talk about the Maria Gay thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Last week, this is just a great one really quickly before we go, we had...
We're not going anywhere. Where are you going?
We had the story of we had the story of the hosts who made the fantastic math error where they said that Mike Bloomberg could have been able to give $1 million to every single American for the money he spent on his presidential campaign. Well, now, Maria Gay, who is one of the people who was involved in that, and she's on the New York Times editorial board, she's now written a post saying, a racist Twitter mob came at me over a trivial math mistake. I'm not going anywhere.
Trivial.
Trivial. She was off by a factor of 1 million, number one. And number two, she's on the New York Times editorial board, and she can't do simple math. And number three, she's running to blame racism.
Racism, of course.
That's the most remarkable thing, because she was rightly mocked, because if you mix up $1 with $1 million, then you're an idiot. But the white male host of that show, MSNBC host, he was also mocked precisely the same way. So it wasn't about race, it was about the idiocy of these people who think they're smarter than everybody and want to preach to us about how to run the economy, how to tackle climate change and how to tackle coronavirus.
But also to the left, millions are the same as dollars. They see no difference.
Pretty soon you're talking about real money.
Now, very briefly, Cinderella, 2,000-year-old story, some say, goes back even further to 7 BC, apparently, the story of Cinderella in various forms. There's always been a fairy godmother in Cinderella, always has been, but not any longer, Rita, because Sony, in their wisdom, James, I'm going to cue you in a second to say the line, our favourite line, but Sony have decided that Cinderella, the fairy godmother, is going to be gender neutral in a remake. The Hollywood star Billy Porter, says he will play a genderless fairy godmother because magic has no gender. Magic has no gender. We are presenting this character as genderless. My God, James.
Go woke, go broke.